It's that time of year again, guys and gals, and 2022 is very rapidly approaching. 2021 has been a year of some great new strategy titles, but also of new announcements and even delays. This means that 2022 is sure to offer a load of new and exciting strategy games for us, and I know some of you especially can't wait for what our favorite developers and series have to offer. Hey there friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andy, and right now, you and I are taking a look at the biggest and most anticipated strategy games of 2022. And I hope you're as excited as I am. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And now, the awesomest games from the awesomest genre of 2022. How about we start with one of the most promising titles on this list, huh? That game is Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. This game was actually supposed to be released in 2021, but like some other titles on this list, was delayed until next year. Honestly, as long as that time is used to make the game as awesome as it can be, I have no problem with that, and especially when we're talking about Knights of Honor. Knights of Honor 2 is essentially somewhat of a dream concept for many strategy gamers out there. For one, it takes place during the medieval period, which in itself is an easy sell. But secondly, and perhaps more interestingly, is the fact that the game is an RTS taking place on a massive, beautiful campaign map of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, while at the same time combining this with real-time battles taking place on local maps depending on where the battles are fought. If you thought, wait, is this Total War mixed with Paradox? Well, you and me both, friend. The game even includes intrigue, character management, trade systems, religion, and even politics and city management. You can appoint your own marshals, priests, spies, and merchants, and you can do it all online with friends or strangers. This concept honestly seems too good to be true, and I absolutely can't wait for Knights of Honor 2 when it releases sometime next year. Now, this next title is my personal most anticipated title of 2022. At least I believe it's fair to assume it will release next year. This title is none other than Victoria 3, the next main installment in the series from Paradox Interactive, the developer behind games like EU4, the Crusader Kings series, and Hearts of Iron. Victoria 3 is set to finally deliver an Imperial Age game which will take everything Paradox has learned since Victoria 2 came out 11 years ago, and really give the series an overhaul. Victoria 2 is known for its complexity, and Victoria 3 seems no different. Here you'll control any nation on the planet of your choosing, but chances are you'll pick one of the stronger major power factions to begin with. Victoria 3 will offer management in every aspect of the state, but with a particular focus on the management of trade and your population, which is uniquely divided into classes, cultures, ideologies, and religions, and every single pop has a different need and want. Warfare is of course another aspect of these games, as is diplomacy, and I'm extremely excited to see what Victoria 3 will offer when it's finally ready. If you want to know more, make sure to check out the developer diaries on Paradox's website. There's a ton more information to be found there. Then we have a really interesting title, one quite different from the previous two. Songs of Conquest is a turn-based strategy game that aims to combine strategy with kingdom management, armed conflict, and RPG mechanics. It kind of reminds me a tad of Heroes of Might and Magic, but just look at that art style. That's enough to make me interested anyway. Songs of Conquest is essentially inspired by classic 90s strategy games and takes place in a fantasy setting. Here you'll be able to take your powerful characters across the land, looting treasures, encountering enemies, and exploring new biomes, factions, and even battlefields. You'll manage resources, research new technology, and expand your towns and cities. The combat system is promised to be deep and fun as well, with the possibility of using the terrain to your advantage like high grounds or bottleneck choke points. It's also possible to play this game with more people, both locally and online, which is always a good thing. Songs of Conquest is scheduled for an early 2022 release, and I can't wait to check this one out. Moving on, Romans Age of Caesar might not look like the most visually astonishing AAA game of all time, but this game still has my interest peaked. Romans Age of Caesar is in fact a cooperative grand strategy MMO from Firefly Studios, the makers of the Stronghold series. Looking like a smaller game, Romans still feels like it can be really fun and addicting. It kind of has an old style vibe to it, which I wholeheartedly mean as a compliment for Romans. Essentially, players must rebuild the empire by erecting buildings of old and new glory, gather resources, re-establish trade posts, and protect shared city-states from barbarian invasion. The game offers campaigns with up to 16 players per city, and governors must cooperate to rebuild the empire and take back what you've lost from barbarians. There's even a seemingly deep political system where you can make your way into the Senate and become Caesar by allying or betraying political partners. I think Roman's Age of Caesar looks like an unexpected hit, and I'm excited to see more of it when it releases sometime early next year. Next up, we have none other than Total War Warhammer 3. Now this is a big one, and the game was actually supposed to be released in 2021 before it got delayed for February 2022. Warhammer 3 is said to be the next and final game in the Total War Warhammer franchise, and as such promises the most exciting and fantastical campaigns and battles to date. Not only do we get factions we've never played before, like Cathay and Kislev, but the new campaign mechanics exclusive to these, in addition to RTS-inspired mechanics during special battles for the Gates of Hell itself, aims to make Warhammer 3 the quintessential title in the series, especially if you already own the first two and want the most epic Mortal Empires campaign you can imagine. Personally, I really hope Warhammer 3 uses the updated engine of Total War Troy and 3K, which both look and feel so much better than the one used in Warhammer 2. In addition, I'm particularly excited for the new human factions in the game, which I feel fit my kind of playstyle and love of at least relative realism a lot better than the ones in Warhammer 2. Warhammer 3 releases February 17, 2022, and let's hope it blows us all away. Another massively anticipated title is Manor Lords, which hopefully will see the light of day in 2022. Manor Lords is another dream come true for medieval RTS fans, essentially mixing town building, construction with a full freedom of placement and rotation, the simulation of growth of real medieval towns, trade, and mixing it all with large-scale battles that aims to produce a realistic feel and flow of battle, merging unit formations with morale systems, flanking, fatigue, and weather and equipment effects. There will even be cavalry, fortifications, the ability to place units on walls, and even gunpowder and siege engines in the final version of the game, which sounds really promising. Manor Lords does not have a set release date yet, but I believe it's likely that at least an early access version will release sometime during 2022, and I know a lot of you are waiting patiently for it. Coming up, we have Men of War 2. Men of War 2 is determined to take up the mantle from its prequels, Men of War and Men of War Assault Squad. Men of War 2 is an RTS game through and through, but instead of being arcadey or simple, Men of War focuses on depth, tactics, and customization to create a truly unique and all-encompassing battlefield experience. What sounds amazing about Men of War 2 is that it's set to combine a cinematic single-player experience in two campaigns, one as the Western Allies and the other as the Soviets, with large battlefields where the environments will change depending on your actions. Men of War 2 will offer destructible objects, realistic physics, and immersive sound design, and will of course include a multiplayer option as well. What's more is that the game will have full mod support, which I'm sure will please a lot of people. Men of War 2 is scheduled for some time in 2022. Following up with another World War II RTS right now comes Company of Heroes 3. Now this is a big one, and it's the third installment in a series which at least originally became universally loved. Company of Heroes 3 aims to bring that old glory RTS goodness with tactical fighting and exciting moments on the ground, and combine it all with a first ever campaign map, where you'll move your troops around, gather resources, and combine support from sea and air with your land troops. I've actually already tested Company of Heroes 3, and if you're interested, feel free to check out that video right here. Company of Heroes 3 will probably be a lot simpler than the likes of Men of War 2, but if you're interested in the essential metagame in smaller skirmishes and maps, then I'm sure this game will be of interest. Company of Heroes 3 is likely to release sometime during 2022, even though there's no set release date just yet. Next up we have another interesting one, Faro A New Era, a remake of the original Faro game which came out all the way back in the 1990s. Faro A New Era is a city builder, offering 50 missions and over 100 hours of gameplay. Here we cultivate our fertile lands along the Nile, raise those iconic ancient Egyptian buildings and monuments, and manage our cultures and religion. You'll even have to deal with economic or political crises, and even plundering enemies. This is a remake featuring modernized UIs and other systems, including a 4K overhaul that makes those old-style visuals look better than ever. Faro A New Era was originally set to be released in 2021, but will instead release sometime in 2022. Now comes a series of city builders that I'll call the Builder series, since there's 3 of these babies. These games are Builders of Egypt, Builders of Greece, and Builders of China. These games all look amazing and offer city management, politics, and economic systems. War and trade also factor in, and you'll have to think of everything if you want your civilization to survive and thrive. Even though the latter 2 games seem a way off, Builders of Egypt already has a prologue version you can play right now, but the full game is set to release sometime in the first half of 2022. Last but definitely not least, we have Frostpunk II, the sequel to the fantastic but also depressing Frostpunk. Frostpunk II aims to take the series further. Taking place in a post-apocalyptic ice age, the first game focused on steam and coal power, but now we're moving to oil as a primary resource for humanity's survival. Ironic, I know. What was so special about the original Frostpunk, and what will be expanded upon in the sequel, are the main aspects of the game, namely making tough decisions on workers and political rights, determining who survives and who does not, all in a kind of city builder mixed with the survival genre. We even get a whole new layer of political, societal, and technological progress, and it'll be up to us to determine the fate and future of humanity. Frostpunk 2 is definitely one to look out for when it most likely releases sometime during late 2022. And those were my picks for the biggest and most anticipated strategy games of 2022. There definitely seem to be a lot more new and massive titles come next year, especially now that some of the 2021 titles have been delayed. I love how much this genre focuses on history, but there truly is something for both the historical and fantasy fans out there, which is partially why the strategy game scene is so beautiful. I hope you enjoyed my selection and that you've seen something you find interesting. If there's something I've forgotten, or if you just want to hype with me, then leave a comment down below, and if you enjoyed the video, I hope you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.